Well, welcome everyone. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are. It's morning for me. So I'm a developer evangelist for Viv Labs, and we're the underlying technology behind Bixby 2.0, that's Samsung's AI assistant. So let me jump right into my presentation, and I'm going to talk about Bixby and the opportunities there, both the technology and Samsung's reach, and I look forward to a great Q&A afterwards. So the Bixby, I'm going to talk about what, why, and when. So what is Bixby? So it's Samsung's voice conversational AI assistant. And when I say Bixby, I'm talking about Bixby 2.0, which was introduced last November, and it's based on Viv Labs technology. I'm going to give you a little bit of history. And it goes back to Siri. So Siri was founded by Dag Kitlaw and Adam Shire. They founded Siri, and then they sold to Apple. Worked at Apple for a couple of years, and then left to really create the next generation conversational AI voice assistant, and they founded Viv Labs. And then in late 2016, Samsung bought Viv Labs to be really the cornerstone of their AI strategy and the front-facing assistant that we're going to embed on devices. So that's the brief history. Something really exciting, and I'm going to get into a little more details about this, is we're going to be embedding Bixby on 500 million devices that ship yearly. So that's phones, TVs, appliances, watches, smart speakers, and more. So why Bixby? So I'm going to talk about the underlying technology and some of the advantages there. And I'm going to talk about Samsung's reach and some of the opportunities there. So first of all, Bixby development. So it's quite different from many other platforms because it's very model-driven versus code-driven. And what does this mean? It means that a developer models the conversation. So they model the inputs and the outputs and the flow. And this handles a lot of the plumbing. So in any application, whether it's a conversational AI voice application, a mobile application, a web application, when a developer is building it, they got to build a lot of plumbing to actually make it work. So what we do is instead of having the developer actually have to develop that plumbing, they model it. And this provides several advantages. First off, one of the big challenges in voice is consistency. So we're all used to, if you use like a mobile app, you know that swipe down, pull down for refresh. That's a UI, standard. But such standards don't exist with voice. But using a model-driven framework allows those standards to start emerge. So two different voice applications might be really different, but they'll behave in the same way when the user the same way for expected behavior. Let's put it that way. And what does the model-driven development also do? It lets the developer focus their time, energy, and creativity on the business logic. What differentiates their voice application from any other voice application? So they can really spend their creativity on differentiating their voice application and let that modeling have built all that plumbing for them. This is really different than most platforms, which are code first, not model first. And in the end, it takes a little while to get your head around it. But once you do, it's more powerful and easier. So this is an example of what the model does. So this big slide with all those boxes there was actually generated with no traditional code. So this is all generated via the model. So the developer modeled this, and then via what we call dynamic program generation, Bixby created a voice conversational AI application. So there's inputs in there, whether they're required or optional, computed values, outputs there. This is actually an example of something that's up in our GitHub repo called Space Resorts. It's a pretty complicated application, but why I wanted to show you this is to give you an idea of the power of the model. So I model, and then Bixby's AI tech actually takes that model, creates a whole voice application for me, and then I, as a developer, put in my differentiating code that makes that my own voice application and differentiates it from any other voice application. So one of the things we really believe in is that you should be able to converse naturally with your voice assistants. But today, we're rife with invocation names. So OpenX, talk to Y. We don't think that's a natural way to converse. We think you should just be able to start talking to your voice assistant naturally. And the invocation names are really a relic from the App Store world. And we're aggressively moving forward to make this happen. Yeah, we use invocation names today, but we don't think that's the future. And there's a lot of technology and thinking going beyond how we can get beyond invocation names and how you can just naturally talk to your voice assistant and it will answer. And when you naturally talk to it, you know, a third-party developed application should have just the same opportunities to answer that query or that request for information from the user as something first-party that's developed here. And that's really fundamentally core to our beliefs, is that third-party developers should have the same rights as things that are developed internally. And that is a differentiator versus some of our competitors. So kind of expanding on that, you know, really we're talking about a level playing field, and this goes to the developer tools. So if you go to www.bixbydevelopers.com today, the tools that you can download, the Bixby Developer Studio, those are the exact same tools that we use internally. I sit next to the capsule development team. By the way, capsules are our term for a skill or an action. So a voice application in Bixby terms is a capsule. So I may start using that lingo as I'm talking. But anyway, those developers internally use the same tools that you can download today. There isn't different tooling or different capabilities there. So that's an equal playing field, and that's a differentiator for us. And the second big differentiator is we have a single IDE that you do all your development in. So that modeling that I talked about, the development, your actual code that you write, and then testing that code, simulating it on different devices, all done within a single IDE. So there's not like one tool where you do your language NLU modeling, and then another tool where you actually write your business logic, which is what some of our competition does. We have it all in a single tool, which I think is a better way, an easier way for developers to handle things. So personalization and contextually aware. So this is really important in voice. You know, there's a big voice user experience challenge. You know, there's no guardrails like a UI. What do I mean by guardrails? So, you know, if I look at a mobile app or a web app, the UI really sets out some guardrails. I can look at that UI and have a really good idea of what the next steps I need to do based on that UI. No such thing exists in voice. I can say anything at any time. So how do you handle that? Secondly, if there's a lot of list of choices for a user in a traditional UI, you know, I can have the user scroll through all those choices, or I can have a pull down with 20 options. That works great in the UI. You know, be very painful to list the 20 options via voice. So how do you handle this? So there's a couple features that we have that help you handle this. One, we have really strong contextual awareness. So this is understanding the conversation and understanding the context of what happened. So let me give you just a really simple example. So if I said, hi Bixby, find me a Chinese vegetarian restaurant in San Francisco. And it would go and find Chinese vegetarian restaurants in San Francisco and give me a list of them, or let me select via voice what the ones that I wanted to get more information about. Then I'm like, you know, I don't really think I want Chinese. I think I want Mexican. And I could say, how about a Mexican restaurant? And Bixby would contextually understand that, hey, I still want to find a restaurant in San Francisco. I still want to find a vegetarian restaurant, but instead of Chinese, I want Mexican. And this is something we call continuations. And how do you do this? It's all that model driven. So I don't need to write a line of code to do that. I basically mark this conversational snippet as what we call a continuation, and it'll understand, hey, go back and I'll call it revise that conversation, to use kind of layman's terms, and redo that search or that query there. The second thing that we have is powerful personalization capabilities. And this really helps when I talked about, hey, how the heck, if you had 20 choices, would you handle that in a voice application? What you need to do is have powerful personalization. So the options that the user would be most likely to choose would be among the 3 or 4 that you'd probably give as options in a voice application. And so you need personalization to do that. You need personalization, you need to understand the user's past behavior or group past behavior, everyone who used that application. So a really simple example that I like to use to highlight this is, let's say I built a commuter application that has train schedules in it. And, you know, it allows me to say, find the next train from station A to station B. Okay, so every day, 6 p.m.-ish, right? I leave work, I go to the train station, and I'm going from the train station near work to the train station near home. And now if I want to find this out in my traditional voice application, I need to, when is the next train from station A to station B? But that's kind of silly. Why can't I just say, when is the next train? And your voice application should understand that, hey, I'm invoking this, it's 6 p.m., it's Monday through Friday. And so the smart defaults would be station A be the one near work, station B would be the one near home. And I could just say, like I said, when is the next train? And I get their correct schedule. And you can do that with Bixby. And once again, that's model driven. So you're basically marking these and say, hey, personalize these inputs. And here's some options about how you want to personalize them based upon the user's past behavior or the behavior in a different use case for all the users of the application. Okay, multimodal. So I think there's really amazing voice-only apps that have been built and are to be built. It's such an exciting area. The way I look at multimodal, in other words, adding a UI, is really, it's like the frosting on the cake. So we have really strong built-in multimodal capabilities. They're not add-ons. They're built core into the platform. Obviously, they're optional to use. If you want to build a voice-only application that's compelling, please do. But we have these multimodal capabilities so you can use that screen and give additional information or context there. And to my thinking, you should allow an app to use correct modality for the situation. Quite simply, modality should be contextual. And hey, we know screens pretty darn well. We're Samsung. We produce more screens, I'll get into those stats, than anyone else in the world. So those are some of, kind of a brief overview of some of the technology advantages that we have. I just want to talk about our reach, which is really amazing. So we're the #1 smartphone manufacturer in the world. We're the #1 television manufacturer in the world. We're #1 in US appliance market share. And we have significant global market share in portable speakers and automotive via our Herman subsidiary. So what does that all add up to? We're going to be embedding Bixby on 500 million devices shipped per year. That's just a stupendous, incredible reach. And frankly, one of the reasons that I joined, I'm relatively new to the team. And when I heard that, I was like, this is an amazing opportunity. And I want to be in there right now. And it's such a ground floor opportunity for something that's going to be huge. So what this really means, if you think from the consumer perspective, I like to talk of it as an ambient computing opportunity. And we're super well positioned for that. What do I mean by ambient computing? I mean, I can walk around my house. I can ask, I'm thinking, what am I going to cook tonight? Get some information via voice. And maybe it's my television that answers that, or my refrigerator, or my phone, or my smart speaker. Or, I'm thinking about going on vacation. Show me some more information. I want to go to the Caribbean. Show me some information there. And my TV turns on and shows me some information about my going to the Caribbean. So instead of, opening up, taking my mobile phone out of my pocket and opening up and launching an app or running over to my laptop and launching a browser, I just have ambient computing capabilities around me, and that's voice driven. And given our massive market share in televisions, in smartphones, in appliances, we're super well positioned to kind of own that ambient computing opportunity in the home. And the way I like to think about this is it's really about taking that kind of lowercase assistant and putting an uppercase A at the beginning of it. So when can you use Bixby? When can I start developing? Right now. So I mentioned www.bixbydevelopers.com. You can go there today. You can download our IDE. You can start developing today. We don't have a marketplace yet, but it's launching this summer. So that marketplace will be where third-party developers will be able to list their skills and consumers will be able to enable those. And that's launching this summer. Think of it like the skills store, but only better. So there's a couple things that we're doing to get third-party developers interested and exciting and building those capsules for us. I want to talk about briefly. First off, next month in June, at least in the US, I know this is a pretty international crowd, we're going on a road show and having a series of hackathons we call the Bixby Developer Sessions. So here in San Francisco on June 8th, Los Angeles on June 15th, New York on June 22nd. These are going to be all day hackathons with great opportunity to learn how to build a Bixby capsule, meet other Bixby developers, meet the developer evangelism team. Amongst them will be me. And we're going to have some pretty cool swag and prizes. I mean, we are Samsung, so we have some pretty cool prizes to give away. And if you're interested in that, you can just go to that URL at the bottom, bixby.events, and you can sign up today. I'd really love to see some of you there. The second thing we're doing is our Premier Developer Program. This is our partner program. And what we're looking for is companies or individuals who've really had some success. They built an Alexa skill or a Google action that's got some pretty serious traction. What we'd like to do is have you join our Premier Developer Program, and then we'll help you port that over to Bixby and take advantage of some of the Bixby unique features. We'll give you white glove support. We have a loaner device program and something really unique. So I mentioned Adam Shire earlier in his history. So he was one of the founders of Siri and then sold Siri to Apple and then founded Viv Labs and then sold Viv Labs to Samsung. So that's 2 successful exits in the voice ecosystem. So aside from his co-founder, Dag Kitlaw, I don't think there's anyone in the world right now who has 2 successful exits in the voice ecosystem. And he's going to be giving some information and some private webinars for our Premier developers about building up a voice startup and how to succeed there. If you're interested in that URL at the bottom of the screen, once again, it's bixby.partners. So I added this slide at the last minute because I got an email this morning and it looked like you were a super international crowd. And so anticipating a question about what language support you have. So here's the language support: US and UK English, Korean, German, Spanish from Spain, Italian, French is in beta, and Chinese Mandarin, and we're working on more. So thank you. Once again, my name is Roger Kibbe. I'm a developer evangelist for Viv Labs / Samsung. I love to talk to people about voice opportunities, what you're thinking about. There's my Twitter handle in the bottom right, at Roger Kibbe, at ROGERKIBBE. Let's continue the conversation at Twitter. I'd love for you to go to bixbydevelopers.com and give it a try and let me know how it works. And I'd love to see what you build. So with that, I'm super open to Q&A.
Perfect. This was Swiss timing, you know, like 20 minutes. Yeah, and we have some questions from our crowd. So let me show, for example, Giselle. She wants to know, there is a huge opportunity, as I understand. How do you compete with the other vendors? So meaning like an own system, I imagine, Giselle, you want to say this? Or yes, because the figures you mentioned, you don't need to fear like the competition, no?
Yeah, no, I mean, the competition is formidable and things. I mean, I think, you know, our primary competition is certainly Amazon Alexa and Google Assistant. And I highly respect those teams and their technology stacks. I think our real differentiator, aside from I believe that our technology is better and kind of a step up as far as how you develop those, and I went through that a little bit, is really the amount of devices that we own and we produce and put in people's homes, right? All the smartphones, all the televisions, all the appliances there. I mean, yes, Google is really strong in smartphones, no doubt about it. But they do not have, you know, they don't have much of a presence on TVs or appliances, right? Likewise, you know, Amazon's super strong in smart speakers, but kind of going, trying to build their presence, I'll say, on other devices. We're really strong in devices that consumers were buying before there even were a voice assistants. And so we think that's the huge opportunity there.
Absolutely. Thanks for this. Yeah, and Matteo, he's asking like, is the platform live already? So this is like what you mentioned, or you can start developing. And I imagine, Matteo, you meant this. You mean this, no?
Yeah. So you can start developing already. And Bixby 2 is now available on the Galaxy 9 series phones and the Galaxy 10 series phones. And pretty darn soon, I think I can just say this, it's going to roll back to the 8 series phones. And then keep tuned this year. There's a lot of, I mentioned all those other devices. They're almost all coming out over the next month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. So by the end of this year, we'll be on a massive number of devices. And then that marketplace, so that I'll just, and people think of it as a skill store. It's a capsule store. We'll be launching this summer. So, but you can start developing today.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Matteo, for your question. Then Erland, he wants to know, like, what markets are you focusing on? Yes, I mentioned like all the devices and everything. So, but do you see like some big opportunities for Bixby in certain markets?
Yeah, I mean, so clearly, I mean, we're underlying Samsung is a Korean company, so the Korean market is super important, and we have massive market presence in US. I think those are givens. But if you looked at that language list, you can say that EMEA and particularly Europe is a big focus for us too. There, so I would say that US, Korea, Europe, and China right now, and that's just where we're starting. But that's where the opportunities are. I was just with a bunch of my European colleagues the last couple of days and an offsite, and I'm super actually excited about really the opportunities for voice and conversational AI in Europe. We talked about doing a lot more things in country and that, there's I think in Europe there's some opportunities that don't exist here domestically in the US, and so that really, really excites me.
Okay, but I believe you find all this information on the links you provided as well, like some activities outside US or Korea you just mentioned. No, if we have folks in Europe who want to join there or go to an event, they definitely will find if there is something. No.
Yeah. Yes. So I just shared those links.
Okay. Perfect. So I will take this. Yeah, perfect.
Oh, it didn't format very well as I cut and pasted.
Yeah, no, but that's okay. No, but we will share it anyway. So yeah, and then Erland, the last question I think or comment he makes, like, why should we develop only for Bixby? Or like, is it you decide for Bixby? Imagine you're now building for Alexa or Google Home, and then you have to decide building on Bixby, or you can like co-develop.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it's a question of only. I think it's additionally and things. I mean, I think we're pragmatic realists about where we are and where the marketplace is, which is that Alexa it depends on the market. Alexa is really strong in certain markets, Google Assistant in some other markets, right? But that's the kind of the 2-horse race that's going on right now. We're the 3rd horse joining the race, and we're going to run real fast. So I'm not suggesting only. I'm suggesting you should pay attention to us. We're coming up fast. It's going to be a 3-horse race. And it's going to be a pretty exciting race. Like I said, it's exciting for everyone in the voice industry. I actually wish well on my competitors, want to beat them, but I think it's kind of all the boats it's a rising tide for everyone. So
absolutely,
it's a great time to be in this industry.
Yeah. By the way, I just switch off the question because we have to switch and to go to the next one. But by the way, this is the reason why you are on bottish, because we see there as well like a big opportunity, or like a 3rd horse in the race. So yeah, it was a great pleasure. Time is already over, and wishing you all the best, Roger. Stay in contact, and thanks for joining. this session. We will send out the information you just provided, and yeah, hopefully see you next time in Europe, Roger.
Absolutely. Love. Thanks you so much, Thomas, and all the listeners. And yeah, love to see you in Europe for the next one.
Absolutely. So thanks, and have a
Thanks.
great afternoon. Thanks. Bye,
You too.
Roger.
Okay.
Bye.
Goodbye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.